The now former UK ambassador to the United States has been sacked due to the nature of his relationship with a convicted paedophile, a relationship that has come as no surprise to anybody, except it would appear the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister knew of Lord Mandelson's relationship with Epstein, the former Foreign Secretary too, and yet his appointment was felt to be worth the risk, even despite warnings from President Trump's co-campaign manager Chris Lecivita, who criticised the replacement of the former ambassador, Dame Karen Pierce, as replacing a professional, universally respected AMBO with an absolute moron. Even the Foreign Affairs Select Committee chair, effusive in her praise for Lord Mandelson, asked for him to come before her committee to allow my colleagues to hear directly why the Prime Minister had appointed him. With her face pressed up against the cabinet room window like Tiny Tim out in the cold, I'm surprised she could be heard. But the Minister for the Overseas Territories, looking sheepish in his place on the front bench, was emphatic. We are absolutely convinced that Lord Mandelson will do an excellent job as our representative in Washington, he stated. And yet that whole time, the government was aware of the security warnings that Lord Mandelson's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein crossed the line of what is acceptable and failed to meet the standard expected of what is arguably our most critical ambassadorial appointment. The President of the United States arrives for his second state visit tomorrow, yet we now suffer the embarrassment and indignity of having had to sack our ambassador for his proximity to a man found guilty of soliciting prostitution from a child, whose girlfriend was convicted in 2021 of sex trafficking, conspiracy and transportation of a minor for illegal sexual activity. Indeed, an aspect of this that remains unclear is the nature of Lord Mandelson's relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell. The New York Times has described it as a stinging embarrassment that casts a shadow over the planned state visit. How has the Prime Minister allowed this to happen, ignoring the advice from his security assessment to appoint him anyway, embracing the risk, then having it blow up in his face? Prior to entering Parliament, I worked for Barclays Bank, and in 2021, the bank's CEO, Jess Staley, resigned amid a regulatory probe into whether he mischaracterised his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. I actually raised a complaint with my managers that was roundly ignored, never advancing beyond managing director level, such was the squeamishness that surrounded the story. I was furious that Barclays still paid Staley his £2.4 million salary and £120,000 pension contribution whilst being defenestrated for his relationship with Epstein. This isn't privileged information, it was widely reported. And yet, whilst the financial world saw fit to wash its hands of Staley, this Labour government welcomed Lord Mandelson with open arms. Those linked to Jeffrey Epstein, who had maintained a relationship with him after his conviction, had visited his island many times where the crimes took place, had long since been deplatformed, deemed too toxic to hold positions of power, and yet the hubris of the Prime Minister saw him ride roughshod over such glaringly obvious concerns. Being the Prime Minister is to take the mantle of the UK's decision-maker-in-chief, to own the responsibility of making not just difficult decisions, but the most difficult decisions. Appointing an ambassador to the United States is not the political banana skin that should bring down the government, and yet here we are. The government is teetering on the brink. Yesterday, the Prime Minister gingerly began climbing down over his handling of the Mandelson sacking. When he came to the Chamber last Wednesday, he robustly defended Lord Mandelson, playing to the baying crowd. He even had the chutzpah to claim that the Conservative Party has a leadership contest going on. Interesting to see him in the smoking room last night between votes, wasn't it? Last Wednesday, the Prime Minister stated that full due process was followed during this appointment. He said it twice. If that is true, then the Prime Minister knew the full scope of Mandelson's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. If he didn't know, and new information subsequently came to light, then either the vetting standards of the government are incompetent, or the claim of full due process is inaccurate. I have confidence in the ambassador. He said that twice too. The Prime Minister's explanation yesterday stated that there were 3 reasons for his tergiversation. The nature and extent of the relationship being far different to what I'd understood the position at that point of appointment. The questioning and challenging of the conviction, which, as I say, goes to the heart of and cuts across what this government is doing on violence against women and girls, and the unsatisfactory nature of the responses from Peter Mandelson last week to the inquiries made of him by government officials, I took the decision to remove him. So can the government lay out precisely what the full due process that was followed? The Prime Minister claims he didn't learn the content of the Bloomberg emails until after his robust defence at PMQs. So, did Lord Mandelson fail to disclose this information during his vetting interview? Was there even a vetting interview? Or did Lord Mandelson disclose everything and the Prime Minister is displaying willful ignorance? I will give way.
Grateful to the honourable gentleman for giving way. His speech reminds me of an earlier episode in UK-US relations when Donald Rumsfeld referred to known knowns, unknown unknowns and known unknowns, and whilst the government might be forgiven for not holding Peter Mandelson to account for those unknown unknowns, does he not agree with me that it's unforgivable that they have traded and staked Britain's diplomatic relationship with the US on known unknowns?
with the honourable member, and I think it's incredible that such lax vetting has taken place from this government with regards to what is such an obvious conflict of interest. The nature and extent of the relationship. We knew about Mandelson's closeness to Jeffrey Epstein when the notorious birthday book was published, where Lord Mandelson described the convicted paedophile as his best pal and signed off his many pages of unctuous praise with the line, "Yum yum." What else did the Prime Minister learn beyond that? He claims he only knew of his association. That would appear to be questionable. The questioning and challenging of the conviction. Was Lord Mandelson asked about his opinion of the conviction of his best pal during his vetting interview? Did he disclose that he felt or had ever felt that the conviction was unjustified? Either he wasn't asked, incompetent vetting, he didn't disclose, not a suitable appointment, or he did disclose and it was ignored by the Prime Minister.
Exactly.
Which is it?
Yep. Very good.
The unsatisfactory nature of the responses, the only aspect in the investigation we are yet to learn. The Prime Minister must publish this new information so that this House can fully understand if his answers are unsatisfying now but not before. That would suggest that full due process was not followed in contradiction to what the Prime Minister claimed last week. This whole sorry episode looks set to derail the visit of the President of the United States tomorrow. We are a long way from the chummy bonhomie of the Prime Minister feeling he'd stuck the landing when his perfectly stage-managed hand delivery of the invitation letter to President Trump. I wonder how he's going to explain this all to the President tomorrow. The Prime Minister knows his days are numbered. The new shadow cabinet know his days are numbered. The backbenchers know his days are numbered. Perhaps the Prime Minister should try talking to them on a regular basis and not just greasing up to them in a smoking room when he needs their support. If the Prime Minister cannot exercise the judgment required of the office, then he must resign.
Yeah.